Well, thank you all for joining us today. We're particularly pleased to be joined by these groups of that represent a number of military groups, the National Military Family Association, other groups that are supporting this legislation. You know, as military families are more and more involved in two careers, as military families are often involved in kids at school, we're trying to create a framework here that will work for families to be more stable. The Military Family Stability Act, based on really a premise that when General Odinero was the Chief of Staff of the Army, said the strength of the military is in its families. And what we're trying to do with the Military Family Stability Act is do things that help make that strength of the military even stronger, recognizing that there are times when the unanticipated change of duty posts, the change that comes at just the wrong time for the family, isn't really that hard to work out. Allowing somebody to go earlier, allowing somebody to stay back a little longer, allowing that separated individual in the military to be treated as just that and look for quarters that make it possible for them to achieve their assignment, but still let family members who need to finish a semester of school, get started a little earlier, do something that makes sense for their career transition at the same time to happen. And so we're particularly pleased to be joined by the groups that you've got that are listed. And I'm pleased that Senator Gillibrand, Senator Hirano, and Senator Burr have co-sponsored this legislation that we're introducing today. And I'm going to let my two Senate colleagues talk about that, and then we'll go to the National Military Family Association, Kelly Haruska, to make some remarks, and then two people here who've been specifically impacted by the kind of problem that we're trying to solve. So it's with both of my colleagues here today. They're both great legislators. Senator Hirano and I served together in the House, and Senator Gillibrand and I did also. And one of the things you want to do when you're introducing legislation is find partners who like to get things done. And in this case, there's no question that the three co-sponsors fit that category, and hopefully I do too. This makes a lot of sense. It's long overdue. We're going to do everything we can to see that this happens. Senator Gillibrand.
Thank you so much. The men and women who join our military do so because they are committed to serving our country. They're selfless, they're courageous, and they make tremendous sacrifices with their families. Our military families confront challenges other families may not have to ever face. One difficulty we've heard from our constituents relates to reassignment. When the service member is given short notice to pack up and move to a new state, what happens to the family? What happens to the spouse who has a career? What about the kids in the middle of a school year? It's getting less and less common in this country for one spouse to work and to the other spouse to stay at home. In the 1950s, a military spouse might not have to worry about it. But military families in the 21st century are very different, and we need new laws to reflect the new reality. Senator Blunt and I have authored the Military Family Stability Act so that military families have more flexibility and resources when deciding when to move. Our bill is designed to give spouses time to wrap up their work while finding new employment. It would allow students to finish their semesters. With this bill, military families would receive up to 6 months of geographic stability if they need it, either before or after the service member's permanent change of station. We'll hear more from Liz O'Brien shortly, and Liz will tell you how her career and family were deeply affected because they didn't have the flexibility that this bill would provide. The Military Family Stability Act would relieve a major burden for our families. Our military families give up so much for this country. We owe it to them to pass this bill. I urge everyone here to work together so that we can pass it. And it's now my pleasure to introduce Senator Mazie Hirono, who has been an extraordinary champion for military families.
Thank you very much. It's great to join my colleagues, Senators Blunt and Gillibrand, in supporting the Military Family Stability Act. This bill, as Senator Blunt said, is long overdue because this bill reflects the reality of today's military families. We know that more than half of our military families, our military active duty people, are married, and there are nearly 2 million military children. And when you think about the deployments that are a constant part of our military families, and what happens to the children who may be in the middle of a school year, what happens to a military spouse who may be pursuing his or her own career path, education, etc., without the flexibility that this bill provides, they have to just pick up and move in the middle of making some decisions that really impact their lives and generally not in a good way. So I'm glad to be here to participate in this, and it's really more than a coincidence, I think, that the two women that we're going to hear from, Mia and Liz, both have Hawaii connections. As Senator Blunt said, Hawaii is everywhere. We have a huge military presence in Hawaii with Pacific Command, and both Mia and Liz have, as I said, contacts in Hawaii. Mia taught at Leeward Community College, which is part of our university system, and Liz coached basketball at the University of Hawaii and at Hawaii Pacific University. But Mia has also written to Mrs. Obama and Dr. Biden about her particular circumstance. But it was astounding to me that when she brought to the attention of the decision makers in the DOD about her particular situation and her desire to pursue her educational goals, one of the comments was that maybe she should get a divorce so she can do that, which is totally unacceptable. What we want is to keep our families stable and together, and that's what this bill does. Thank you.
Karen.
Who's next?
On behalf of the National Military Family Association, we'd like to thank Senators Blunt, Gillibrand, and Hirono for sponsoring this important legislation. This is going to provide families the opportunity to choose if they want to precede or proceed their service member spouse as they PCS, and it will provide them maybe some continuity with their jobs and their children's schooling. These lovely ladies are going to provide us some real-time examples of why this legislation is so important, and we look forward to working with the senators on the passage of this important legislation.
Good.
Thank you.
So Mia Rise-Weber and Liz O'Brien are going to talk about the challenges they've had, and I thought about looking at their testimony, trying to explain some of it in advance, but nobody tells their story better than they do. And so Mia, if you'll come, and then when you're done, Liz.
My husband and I have been together for a long time. I knew throughout our courtship that he would probably spend his career in the military. He is brilliant, and he and I are committed to his duty as an officer in the United States Army. I am also a career-driven woman, and I am attempting to establish myself as an educator. I've taught at the higher education level for 5 years in New York State, in Hawaii, and now in Missouri. In my, albeit short career as a teacher, I know this profession is my calling. I strive to create authentic experiences for my students. I am a teacher inside and out. This is my passion, and fostering learning makes my job worthwhile every day. Last summer, my husband and I were in Hawaii about to move to Missouri, where he could pursue his next duty station on the already planned path for young engineer officers. We knew we would move to Missouri after Hawaii since the day we found out we were moving to Hawaii in the first place. With my husband's path already lineated by his branch, I had been working to prepare to accompany him to Missouri while simultaneously working to advance my own career. I had been accepted to St. Louis University for a doctoral program in higher education, and I had an appointment to teach writing composition at Missouri University of Science and Technology. As it happens, military order dates fluctuate. We were supposed to leave in May. Then, we were supposed to leave in June. By July 2014, I was getting nervous. I needed to be in Missouri by that August to begin my PhD program and to be at Missouri S&T to teach my fall course load. So we applied to the Army to release me early from Hawaii. Our application was denied. We tried a different avenue. We presented evidence of my course enrollment and my teaching professor appointment. We were denied again. We appealed to organizations outside of my husband's unit. We explained our situation numerous times, and people seemed interested in helping us. But at the end of the day, we were told that our request was simply something that didn't fit neatly on a form. At one point, someone even joked that I could get to Missouri tomorrow if my husband and I were requesting a divorce, because there's a process for that. Something so tongue-in-cheek reveals a very raw problem. A divorce form shouldn't be easier on the system than empowering a spouse to pursue his or her career by furthering his or her education. But what could we do? So my husband and I crunched numbers and pulled from our savings and decided that we would do this on our own. I packed my classroom supplies, some of my books, my favorite lesson planner, and my pens into about 10 boxes and shipped it all to my parents' home in New York. We bundled, wrapped, and sorted our household goods in Hawaii and put them into storage because we couldn't afford rent payments in 2 different states. We purchased a couple of plane tickets. We packed as many of my things into suitcases as we could, and we moved to Missouri on our own. We found a home, signed a lease, and 2 days later, my husband flew back to Hawaii. We were separated again. A friend of ours offered his couch until my husband could leave, and I lived out of my suitcase and ate my meals from paper cups and plates and slept on a mattress on the floor. We lived this way for over a month. My husband joined me in Missouri in September of last year. If I had waited for the military to move us, I would have arrived too late in the semester to take classes or to teach. My husband and I are equal partners in both our marriage and our professional career ambitions. I continually support him as an Army officer, and he is unconditionally supportive and enthusiastic about my professional and educational path. We are committed to pursuing our goals together as a team and also individually as young professionals. I feel, however, that right now, the military is indifferent in their acknowledgement of me as a professional, and they are failing to acknowledge the strain and instability burdening military families who must move every 2 to 3 years. This is why the Military Family Stability Act is so important. This bill will provide geographical stability for families for up to 6 months before or after a permanent change of station report date. 6 months would allow spouses like me to bring appropriate closure to our professional responsibilities. 6 months is the difference between starting school at the beginning of a semester and attempting to start school in the middle of an academic year. The Military Family Stability Act would provide flexibility within the moving timeline that would increase the feasibility and probability for me and other career spouses to transition forward in our careers rather than laterally or downward. Supporting this bill would allow me and other spouses to pursue careers that would augment and strengthen our United States military families.
Thank you.
Good morning. Senator Blunt, Senator Gillibrand, Senator Hirono, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. To all the organizations that have placed their support behind this bill, your support is meaningful on so many levels. I have the great privilege of working with many of you daily, and I know how hard you work to advocate for our military families behind the scenes, day to day, year to year. Your work is great, and it is so valued. Today is a huge legislative step in the space of supporting military families. As you know, I am Elizabeth O'Brien. I'm the very, very proud military spouse of Major Justin Gorkowski. But today, however, I represent more than a singular military spouse. I am also the mother to 3 children, ages 8, 6, and 4, who have only known life as military brats in a time of war. Our 8-year-old, Isabella, has lived in 6 homes in her short life. Today, I easily represent the face of Maria, a pilot for Lufthansa, Micah, a 6th grade teacher, Heidi, a realtor, and Jill, an attorney. Each a military spouse who at different points has resigned from a job, placed a career on hold, or passed over a promotion because the Military Family Stability Act did not exist to support them. I was born and raised in Hempstead, New York, and attended Hofstra University, where I played soccer and basketball. This launched me into a career as a college basketball coach for well over a decade. I was privileged to coach outstanding student athletes at Hofstra University, the United States Military Academy, and the University of Hawaii. I had the great honor to learn from some of the best minds in the sport of basketball. I was well entrenched in my career and living out my lifelong dream. And then I met Justin. And my dreams shifted. He received orders to Schofield Barracks. I eventually resigned my position at West Point and accepted a lesser position as a part of the University of Hawaii Wahine basketball program. But I was thrilled. I was grateful to have a position in my career field, the opportunity to work for an outstanding coach, pursue a graduate degree in educational psychology, and spend time with my husband as we faced a 15-month impending deployment. In my mind, all those factors far outweighed monetary compensation and loss of title. On May 5th, 2011, we moved our young family to Vilseck, Germany. Due to status of forces agreement laws that state 75% of on-installation work opportunities must go to local nationals, there are limited opportunities for American spouse employment. I changed course, utilized the My Career Advancement Account Scholarship, became a personal trainer and sports nutritionist, started a small business, and coached high school basketball to fill in our time overseas. We enrolled each of our children in the German school system, and I watched my 3 girls assimilate into a community that welcomed them with open arms. And I thought, what a gift that their first exposure to education was in a different country where they could learn a foreign language and embrace the German culture firsthand. The most heartbreaking moment for us as parents was when we had to pull our children from their school in April of 2014. The German system is based on an academic year that doesn't finish until late July. My husband had orders to report to D.C. at the start of May 2014, and there was simply no way we could afford financially to stay behind, pay housing on the German economy, while supporting housing for my husband in the D.C. metro area. If the Military Family Stability Act had existed a short 18 months ago, my children, Isabella, Caitlin, and Claire, would have had the opportunity to complete their full term of German curriculum and experience all the joys that culminate in the conclusion of a German school year. Instead, they were not in school for 4 months, and we were forced to homeschool. Daily, military families sacrifice while standing side by side with their service member. This is something we are all familiar with. Oftentimes, when people hear of spouses pursuing career employment and career goals, they state, "You knew what you were getting into." In my mind, that is an antiquated excuse that can no longer be acceptable. I know that our military can do better, quite simply put. Military Family Stability Act will help place our futures on equal footing, and it will remove the nightly discussions at the table at home about our service members exiting the military to support their spouses and their children in their career goals and educational opportunities. With your help, spouses like myself and Mia will be empowered to continue to pursue goals and then have the opportunity to remain in our career fields. Military children like Isabella, Caitlin, and Claire will have the opportunity to fully reach their academic potential without interruption. And no longer will military families have to reach into their own pockets to support their dreams. This bill, the Military Family Stability Act, is an investment in our military children, our military spouses, and our family readiness. I thank you all for your support of our military families, and I thank you for your time.
Well, I don't think we could tell these stories any better than they've been told. I'm looking here for the list of people, which somebody will give me in a minute, the list of groups supporting this legislation. But the real crux of this is, in the last story, what this would really do is allow the family to stay, the service member to make the transition and be in bachelor quarters until the family catches up. So the only cost here, in that case, would have been a couple of months of bachelor quarters. In fact, in both your cases, you just needed 2 months of the 6 months that would be allowed here for things to work out for a family or a career in the way that we should want things to work out for a family or career. So we have supporting this legislation, the National Military Family Association, Military Child Education Coalition, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Military Officers Association of America, Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America, Blue Star Families, the American Legion has also supported, and others. So I think you all have that list. We have a broad base of support. I think this is a piece of legislation that should have happened long ago, and we're going to do our best to try to make it happen right now.